One book, one extraordinary life. 48 chapters of saints, science, and the search for God.
I'm Kai.
And I'm Maya.
And this is our take on Autobiography of a Yogi, chapter by chapter. A question, a simple one, from guru to disciple. Why don't you get an astrological armlet? And Mukunda's answer is the most honest thing he could say. Should I master? I don't believe in astrology.
Chapter 16, Outwitting the Stars. And what Sri Yukteswar says next might be the single most important line in the entire book about how to approach truth. He says, "It is never a question of belief. The only scientific attitude one can take on any subject is whether it is true. The law of gravitation worked as efficiently before Newton as after him."
Hold on, that's worth sitting with. He's saying belief is completely irrelevant. Truth doesn't need your permission to be true. Gravity didn't start working after Newton figured it out. It was already there. Always was, always will be. Your opinion about it changes nothing. And then he adds, the cosmos would be fairly chaotic if its laws could not operate without the sanction of human belief.
Right. He's being almost funny about it. The universe doesn't wait for you to approve its operating manual. And he's applying this directly to astrology. He says, charlatans have brought the stellar science to its present state of disrepute. Astrology is too vast, both mathematically and philosophically, to be rightly grasped except by men of profound understanding. So it's a real science. It's just been corrupted by people who don't actually understand it.
Yeah. And that corruption is exactly why someone like Mukunda would say, I don't believe in astrology. Because most of what passes for astrology is people exploiting others' fears. Read your chart, pay me money, your fate is sealed. But Sri Yukteswar is pointing at something completely different. He says, all parts of creation are linked together and interchange their influences. The balanced rhythm of the universe is rooted in reciprocity. Everything affects everything else. The planets, your body, your consciousness, your past actions, they're all in constant conversation.
And then he gets specific about the mechanism. He teaches that we combat two sets of forces, inner forces, the earth, water, fire, air, and ethereal elements within us, and outer forces, the disintegrating powers of nature. The planets are part of that outer field, and he's very clear about what they are and what they aren't. Astrology is the study of man's response to planetary stimuli. The stars have no conscious benevolence or animosity. They merely send forth positive and negative radiations.
So the planets aren't gods. They're not judging you. They're not punishing you or rewarding you. They're cosmic forces, like gravity or magnetism, operating according to laws. You can't offend Saturn, you can't appease Jupiter, they just send out their frequencies, and your constitution responds to those frequencies based on who you are and what you've done, based on your karma. And I think that's actually a relief in a way, because if the planets were conscious beings with opinions about you, you'd have to worry about pleasing them. But if they're impersonal forces, like weather systems or magnetic fields, then the question becomes, how do I navigate them wisely?
And here's where it gets really precise. Sri Yukteswar says, a child is born on that day and at that hour when the celestial rays are in mathematical harmony with his individual karma. Your birth moment isn't random. It's precisely timed to match what your soul needs to work through in this lifetime. The planetary configuration at the moment of your birth is a map of your karmic pattern.
So my horoscope is basically a karmic blueprint, a portrait of what I'm carrying from past lives. Sri Yukteswar calls it a challenging portrait, revealing his unalterable past and its probable future results. And I think the key word there is probable, not inevitable, not certain, probable. The past is fixed, you can't undo what you've done, but the future, that's open. That's where free will lives.
And that's where the real teaching comes in. He says, the message boldly blazoned across the heavens at the moment of birth is not meant to emphasize fate, the result of past good and evil, but to arouse man's will to escape from his universal thraldom. The stars aren't trapping you. They're waking you up. They're saying, here's what you're carrying. Here's the terrain you're walking through. Now use your will to rise above it.
So the horoscope is actually supposed to empower you, not imprison you. Most people read their chart and think, oh no, this is my destiny. But Sri Yukteswar is saying, the stars are showing you this so you can transcend it. It's cosmic compassion. The universe is handing you a map and saying, now navigate.
The wise man defeats his planets, which is to say, his past, by transferring his allegiance from the creation to the creator. That's the core teaching. You're not fighting the stars. You're shifting where you place your identity. He says it so simply. Man is a soul and has a body. When he properly places his sense of identity, he leaves behind all compulsive patterns. If you identify as the body, the planets push you around. If you identify as the soul, you're free. The soul was never bound by planetary forces. It can't be. It's eternal.
And to illustrate this, Yogananda shares his own history with astrology. His family had an astrologer who predicted something dark, that Mukunda would marry 3 times and be twice widowed, and his brother Ananta bought into it completely. He said, "You may as well be resigned to your fate. Just accept it. The stars have spoken. This is locked in."
But Mukunda had a completely different response. He burned the horoscope scroll, literally took the actual document with his supposed destiny written on it and set fire to it, and then he took the ashes and wrote on a bag, "Seeds of past karma cannot germinate if they are roasted in the divine fires of wisdom."
Oh, wow, that's fierce. He's saying, I'm not going to let this prediction take root in my consciousness. I'm not going to water it with my fear or my belief. The karma exists, fine. The past actions happened, but I'm changing the soil. I'm burning the conditions that would let those seeds grow. And Ananta pushes back. You cannot destroy truth as easily as you have burnt this paper scroll. He's saying, the karma is real. Burning paper doesn't erase what you've done. And he's partly right. The karma couldn't be destroyed by burning paper, but Mukunda's allegiance mattered. His orientation mattered. 3 separate times the family tried to arrange his betrothal. 3 times they matched him with a girl, probably trying to fulfill the astrologer's prediction. And 3 times he refused. Not because he had some perfect cosmic plan, but because his love for God was more overwhelming than any astrological persuasion from the past. So he changed his karma by changing his allegiance. He offered all his energy upward toward God, not outward into the world of marriage and domestic life. And the prediction never manifested. He never married 3 times. He never experienced those widowhoods, because he was no longer the person to whom that fate applied. He'd shifted his identity from the body, which the planets can touch, to the soul, which they can't. And I think that's the most radical thing in this chapter. Not that astrology is real, not that planets send radiations, but that you can actually change the trajectory of your karma by changing what you love most, by redirecting the entire force of your desire from the horizontal, the worldly, to the vertical, the divine.
You know, and the beautiful thing is that Mukunda didn't fight the prediction. He didn't argue against astrology or try to prove the astrologer wrong. He simply loved God more than anything the prediction could offer him. He didn't resist his karma. He transcended it. There's a difference. Resistance creates friction. You're still bound to the thing you're pushing against. But transcendence means you've moved to a different altitude entirely. The weather down on the ground doesn't touch you anymore because you're no longer standing in it. I mean, that's the real outwitting of the stars, isn't it? Not outsmarting them, not tricking the cosmos, just rising above the jurisdiction where they operate. Now, as a more mature disciple, Sri Yukteswar introduces something practical, the astrological armlet. Not magic. The ancient rishis discovered that karma has what Sri Yukteswar calls mechanical features, aspects that can be adjusted through what he calls fingers of wisdom. Pure metals, gold, silver, copper, emit what he calls astral light that's counteractive to negative planetary influences. So it's like a vibrational shield. The metals interact with your subtle energy body. They have electromagnetic and vibrational properties that can buffer the astral body against harsh planetary radiations. Gold for the sun's influence, silver for the moon, copper for Venus, a trinitarian balance. It's not superstition. It's the same principle as why certain frequencies of light affect your mood, or why minerals have electromagnetic properties. Everything has a subtle signature. And then Sri Yukteswar makes a very specific prediction. He says, "The stars are about to take an unfriendly interest in you, Mukunda. Fear not, you shall be protected. In about a month, your liver will cause you much trouble. The illness is scheduled to last for 6 months, but your use of an astrological armlet will shorten the period to 24 days. Wait, what? 6 months of liver trouble compressed into 24 days? So the armlet doesn't prevent the karma, it accelerates it. It's like a buffer that lets you process the karmic debt faster, at higher intensity, but for a shorter duration. The lesson still comes, but it doesn't destroy you. That's actually brilliant when you think about it. The guru isn't offering escape. He's offering a more efficient way to learn what you need to learn. That's a perfect way to put it. The armlet is like a training wheel. It works on the subtle energy body, while meditation works on the consciousness. Sri Yukteswar is giving Mukunda tools for both levels. Eventually, you don't need the armlet anymore, because you've become what it was helping you become. But in the meantime, it buys you time and space to grow without being crushed by your own karma. So the compassion of a true guru is that he doesn't let you be destroyed by your karma before you're ready to transcend it. Exactly. And it happens precisely as predicted. 30 days later, sudden intense liver pain hits. The illness drags on. 23 days of agony, with Mukunda growing weaker and more desperate. Finally, he travels to Benares to see his guru. And Sri Yukteswar doesn't rush him to a doctor or prescribe herbs. He takes him to an octagonal balcony overlooking the Ganges by moonlight. Picture this, the ancient city quiet, the moon hanging bright and full over the dark river, the stone balcony jutting out over the water, a setting stripped of everything except beauty and silence.
And then the master looks at him and says something that cuts straight through everything. You say you have pain. I say you have none. How can such contradictions exist? I mean, that's an extraordinary thing to say to someone in agony. He's not denying the physical sensation. He's pointing at something deeper. The body registers pain. The nervous system fires. But the soul has never suffered. The soul has no pain.
And the pain vanishes instantly, just gone. The agony stops the moment Mukunda's consciousness shifts, and Sri Yukteswar is completely matter-of-fact. Don't be childish. Get up and enjoy the beauty of the moon over the Ganges. That's it. No elaborate explanation, no ceremony. Just stop identifying with the body and see reality as it actually is.
Okay, but I want to understand the mechanism. What actually happened? Did the pain leave the body or did it leave his consciousness?
Both. Consciousness is prior. It shapes the body, not the reverse. When Sri Yukteswar said the pain wasn't real, Mukunda's sense of identity shifted. He stopped being the body having pain and became the soul observing a body. And once consciousness shifted, the body followed. The nervous system released, the agony stopped. There's no contradiction. Change the consciousness and you change the experience.
And on the 24th day, the illness is completely gone. Exactly as predicted. 6 months of karmic liver trouble compressed into 24 days. The armlet worked at the subtle level, while the guru's words worked at the level of consciousness itself. Both instruments doing their job, one mechanical, one spiritual, both serving the same purpose, getting the disciple through the lesson without being destroyed by it.
And Sri Yukteswar teaches this explicitly. He says the deeper the self-realization of a man, the more he influences the whole universe by his subtle spiritual vibrations, and the less himself is affected by the phenomenal flux. So enlightenment isn't about escaping the world, it's about not being bound by it. Things still happen, karma still manifests, but if your identity is rooted in the eternal rather than the changing, nothing touches your fundamental peace.
Okay, so the armlet, the healing, the whole astrology framework, they all converge on the same point. The more your identity is rooted in soul rather than body, the less the planets can touch you.
And that reframes the entire astrology teaching, you know? The stars aren't enemies, they're not obstacles. They're a mirror of what you're working through, and the work is always the same, identifying less with the body and the world and more with the soul. The armlet helps at the physical level, meditation helps at the consciousness level, and the guru operates at both levels simultaneously, seeing the karma, providing the tools, and when the moment is right, simply speaking the truth that dissolves the illusion altogether.
I keep thinking about that line. You say you have pain, I say you have none. It's not a contradiction, it's two different levels of reality. At the body level, the pain is completely real. 23 days of agony, that's not imaginary. But at the soul level, there was never any pain. The soul can't be injured, it can't be sick, it can't die. And what the guru did in that moment on the balcony was shift Mukunda's perception from one level to the other. Once the shift happened, the body followed.
There's one more teaching in this chapter that I think is really important. Sri Yukteswar explains the Yuga cycle, the great cosmic cycle of ages, a 24,000-year equinoctial cycle divided into an ascending arc and a descending arc, each 12,000 years long. Within each arc, 4 ages: Kali Yuga, the Iron Age, 1,200 years of spiritual darkness; Dwapara Yuga, the Bronze Age, 2,400 years; Treta, the Silver Age, 3,600; and Satya, the Golden Age, 4,800 years of full spiritual awareness.
And here's what's fascinating. Most Hindu scholars at the time place civilization in the middle of a Kali Yuga lasting hundreds of thousands of years, a tremendously long dark age. Sri Yukteswar disagreed. He said the astronomical calculations had been misinterpreted during the actual Kali Yuga, when understanding was at its lowest. His corrected calculations show that the last Kali Yuga ended around 1700. We're now in the ascending Dwapara Yuga, the age of electrical and atomic energy developments, an age of increasing light where consciousness is beginning to remember itself, where the tools and technologies are emerging to support spiritual exploration. So these teachings that Yogananda is bringing to the West aren't random. They're arriving at exactly the right point in the cosmic cycle. The age is ready for them.
It's hopeful, you know? In a Kali Yuga, spiritual knowledge is hidden and difficult to access. In a Dwapara, it's more available. In a Treta, even clearer. And in a Satya, it's self-evident. We're not just spinning in circles. We're moving through a cycle of increasing light. And that context matters. It explains why these teachings are spreading now, in our time. Not too early, not too late.
And it also means that Sri Yukteswar isn't just giving Mukunda isolated spiritual techniques. He's giving him the complete architecture. Karma, planets, metals, consciousness, cosmic cycles, yugas, a full map of reality at every scale, from the microtonal vibrations of a raga to the 24,000-year cycle of human civilization. The disciple doesn't just get tools, he gets the whole framework for understanding why the tools work and when to use them.
That's the mark of Sri Yukteswar's genius as a teacher. He doesn't leave anything uncontextualized. Everything connects. The astrology teaching connects to the consciousness teaching, connects to the yuga teaching. It's all one unified vision of reality, where karma operates within cycles and consciousness transcends both.
Next time, we meet Sasi, a charming young man, college friend of Mukunda's, with a wild private life and a guru who can see exactly what's coming for him. Sri Yukteswar looks at this boy and sees a year into the future. He sees illness, he sees 3 beautiful blue sapphires, he sees a desperate plea for healing. And he warns Sasi directly, but will Sasi listen? That's the question at the heart of next chapter.
It's a story about what happens when grace meets free will, when the guru offers everything, sees everything, warns about everything, and the disciple still chooses his own path. And it's going to break your heart, Kai, but it puts it back together in the most unexpected way.
It stays with you because it's true, though. Not just true for Sasi, true for all of us. We all have a guru of some kind, an inner voice, a warning we're choosing to ignore. And the question is always the same. Will you listen before it's too late? See you next time.